Salute to every single one of y'all, family. This is why we're here. And it's one of the reasons that we're here. We say the truth is a hard pill to swallow. You say hold your nose and tilt your head back, family. So with that said, one of the things we do want to have a discussion about is the truth about Afghanistan. In order to understand the truth about Afghanistan, we must understand what all the hoopla is about as far as pulling out of Afghanistan at this time. Why were we there in the first place for so long? I mean, think about it, 20 years, the longest war, quote unquote, in U.S. history. Of course, I call bullshit, I always do. And I like to take you on the journey with me, of course, whenever the chance I get. So hopefully you can kind of, see through some of the shit. Now this goes back, obviously it's 20 years, this when George Bush went into Afghanistan. Now if you think about now, what do we have right now, right? Before we go into, go back a little bit, I want y'all to think about what we have, what's going on right now, right? We have our current Democratic president, Joe Biden. I guess you could say being really ridiculed at the moment for his handling of the withdrawal of the troops in Afghanistan, and more so not setting up, a democracy in Afghanistan, or in the assistance of that. Now, at least that's what's being fed to us as the people, right? Now, the actions that America, it don't seem like that's exactly what the end result is. I mean, because if you look at it, right, we pulled everybody out by this quote unquote deadline to leave millions and millions, if not billions, of dollars worth of artillery, machinery, planes, tanks, all the above. We left all of these things there just in the Taliban's hands. So this is where we're facing. All of our troops are out of there. Maybe not home, but just in other, surrounding territory. Believe me, we have yet to see all these troops. When did the planes come back of the guys? But just think about where we are now. On the brink, we've come out of Afghanistan, but we've left the Taliban all of these arms and ammunition. And nobody even think why. What was that was the strategy? None of this was, discussed or implemented, or was this purposely done by design for some other, sinister reason, or, if you will. Y'all know who George Bush began this, right? So for me, I would have to believe it's the latter. I do not believe we're over there to liberate or anything like that. I think it's something a lot more sinister, and a president like George Bush will tell you that in so many words. He most definitely will.
If you've retired, you don't have anything to worry about. Third time I've said that. I'll probably say it 3 more times. See, in my line of work, you got to keep repeating things over and over and over again for the truth to sink in. You got to catapult the propaganda.
So what have we learned today, family? In our line of work, you have to keep repeating things over and over again so that the truth can set in and catapult the propaganda. Well, what is propaganda? We know propaganda by definition is maybe something created, to look like something with the purposes of of achieving another goal or to sway an opinion or one's opinion about a certain thing. So we can continuously repeat a lie over and over again until the masses of the people believe it. So we can install or act upon whatever bullshit reasoning we have for doing something, or in this case, invading a country, if you will.
If you've retired, you don't have anything to worry about.
Now, George Bush, we've seen four. Now, Joe Biden makes the fourth president. Joe Biden makes the fourth president in U.S. history to be involved in the war in Afghanistan. Well, let's hear what all these the last four commander-in-chiefs had to say about Afghanistan.
Given the nature and reach of our enemies, we will win this conflict by the patient accumulation of successes, by meeting a series of challenges with determination and will and purpose. Today we focus on Afghanistan, but the battle is broader. Stay until the mission is done. Only be achieved when we give the Afghan people means.
Now again, this was in 04. Stay till the mission is done.
Afghanistan develop its own stable government. Alliance must maintain its resolve and finish the fight in neighborhood. As President Sarkozy put it in London last week, we cannot afford to lose Afghanistan. Whatever the cost, however difficult the victory, we cannot afford it. We must win. I agree completely.
Even as there will be dark days ahead in Afghanistan, the light of a secure peace can be seen in the distance. These long wars will come to a responsible end. Others will ask, why don't we leave immediately? That answer is also clear. We must give Afghanistan the opportunity to stabilize. Otherwise, our gains could be lost, and Al-Qaeda could establish itself once more. As Commander-in-Chief, I refuse to let that happen. 2014, therefore, is a pivotal year. Together with our allies and the Afghan government, we have agreed that this is the year we will conclude our combat mission in Afghanistan. I think Americans have learned
said that in 2014.
Than it is to begin. And this is how wars end in the 21st century.
7 years after
signing ceremonies,
Bush
decisive blows against our adversaries,
that we stand
transitions to elected
they
government.
would. So I'm assuming now
Security forces who are trained to take the lead and ultimately full responsibility.
Our troops will fight to win. We will fight to win. If I wanted to win that war, Afghanistan would be wiped off the face of the earth. It would be gone. It would be over in literally in 10 days. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to go that route. We're getting out. We want to get out. We had good meetings with the Taliban, and we are going to be leaving, and we're going to be bringing our soldiers back home. We've been there for almost 20 years. It's a long time. We've done a great job in terms of getting rid of terrorists. Now it's up to other countries to get rid of those terrorists.
I'm now the fourth United States president to preside over American troop presence in Afghanistan. 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats. I will not pass this responsibility on to a fifth. I'm deeply saddened by the facts we now face. I do not regret my decision to end America's war fighting in Afghanistan and maintain a laser focus on our counterterrorism mission there and other parts of the world. My fellow Americans, the war in Afghanistan is now over. The fourth president was faced the issue of whether and when to end this war. When I was running for president, I made a commitment to the American people that I would end this war. Today, I've honored that commitment.
So we should go all the way back to George Bush, early 2000s, right? Gradually, so now we're wondering what happened over the last 17, 18, 19 years to where we have failed as a United States to assist or install our own government or democracy in Afghanistan, as we claim that was the mission in the beginning, to liberate the people, rid the people of this monstrous faction called Taliban and Al Qaeda and all this and that. And what I always say, family, well, I'll save that for next. I'll save that for next.
Given the nature and reach of our enemies, we will win this.
So, in Afghanistan, family, we have to understand that there were events that happened prior to 9/11 that I guess you can say sparked all of what we're facing now. Now, if you know the truth about what's has been going on in Afghanistan, the truth may actually shock you, family. So who better else than to take us down that road than the most honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan of the Nation of Islam, who over the years, and as you can see, even this post right here, this was from a speech accepting responsibility to build our community on March 8th, 2009. So even the irony, even with all, with, wow, almost, 12 years afterwards, even the same thing, but these are the truths that we don't like to speak about when it comes to Afghanistan. So it is, family, they probably gonna flag the video, but hopefully you can get it. Go ahead and screen record right now before they pull it down. And it is what it is, man. Minister Farrakhan talks about the war of Afghanistan, the other hidden truths. But you have to understand, again, how we got to the point we are now. We have to go back before 2001, before 9/11.
How did we get involved in Afghanistan? Did you know that Osama bin Laden was paid by the CIA? You didn't know? You didn't know? Well, let's just get a little talk. See, Afghanistan is a Muslim country, and socialists and communists had started ruling Afghanistan. So the Muslims now, this is a period of Islamic revival all over the world. And the Muslims are rising up to come back to the pristine purity of the faith. So when the Muslims rise, they challenge a socialist government. This happened in Egypt under Gamal Abdel Nasser, who was a socialist, but the Islamic Brotherhood wanted to return Egypt to Islam in its purest form. This is going on all over the Middle East now. So most of the moderate, in quotes, moderate Muslim leaders, they're all in trouble because the masses are rising and they want Islam, but they want it in its pure form. So the Muslims started rising in Afghanistan. And the Soviet Union did not want
Hey, remember, this is the
the
period he's talking
Muslims
about the
to
late 80s, early
destabilize
90s.
the socialist
Time
government.
period
So they
first.
sent their troops in to take over Afghanistan. Enter Osama bin Laden. I don't know exactly, remember who was with me when I was in Pakistan, in Islamabad, and I met with that President Zia-ul-Haq. And I went into Peshawar, where the Mujahideen
And
were,
remember,
and we met
Peshawar is the
with the
place
leaders
where
of
Osama
the
bin Laden was
Mujahideen.
actually killed, where his compound was.
Mujahid. It means a struggler, a person involved in a jihad or an intense struggle for God. For God. The Mujahideen that we met in Peshawar were fighting the Russians or the Soviet Union in Afghanistan. The United States said, well, we are God-fearing.
Listen to this.
Satan talking.
Listen to this. Very important. Very important. And this is when Joe Biden was part of the Senate.
And you Muslims are God-fearing, and the Soviet Union is godless. So let's back the Mujahideen. So the CIA funneled money, weapons, information to the Mujahideen. And those are ancient warriors. And they whipped the Soviet Union. And we could see the Soviets taking their tanks and getting out of there. But what happened, America promised
Listen.
that when the Soviet Union was defeated, that they would help the Mujahideen rebuild Afghanistan.
Don't that shit sound familiar?
But America is not interested in building any nation that will be true to Islam. So once the Soviet Union was defeated, America backed out on its promise. The Soviet Union collapsed. And America became the only power in a unipolar world.
Facts.
Osama mad as hell.
And then in
The
rises.
Mujahideen mad as hell. So a civil war broke out in Afghanistan between the warlords who controlled the poppy, the heroin traffic, you that snort and you that shoot up. Most of your heroin coming out of Afghanistan.
Resources. Y'all gotta think, family. Y'all gotta think. Why? We never asked why.
The Taliban arose in a civil war, and they win and conquer Afghanistan, cut off the poppy. Now, let me tell you, did you know it ain't got nothing to do with the Taliban and women wearing burqas? This thing that covered a woman all up.
And it's funny, again, this is in 2009. But think about how the liberated
Walk in
women
the
and
street
people
with
that
your
women are talking
behind out,
about now.
ain't a damn soul saying nothing to you. You're gonna defend women in Afghanistan who cover, and you are uncovering your woman. Make
making her look like a prostitute.
Facts. Think.
Ain't nobody saying nothing to you. He's not a defender of the modesty of women.
Never have been.
Use that as an argument to sway the American people against.
So of course we back after technical difficulties. I got y'all at. Y'all trying to shut us down. But guess what? We going right back where we at. History of the Taliban. And we just heard Minister Louis Farrakhan breaking down, in a sense. And I know y'all think, who ain't nobody listening to the minister, man. Nobody stand where this old man talking about up there. So I figured, and I found something. Let's go a little further in depth with it, if you will, right? Let's get it.
Is the Taliban takeover of Afghanistan now inevitable?
No, it is not.
Later in 2021, the U.S. will finally withdraw from Afghanistan, but concerns are growing over what will happen in the aftermath of the departure. A U.S.-led invasion ousted the Taliban in 2001, and many analysts suspect the militant group is now in a position to retake control of Afghanistan. But what is the Taliban, and where did it come from? Understanding the group's origins requires us to look back at more than 40 years of Afghan history.
Deep dive.
In 1979, the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan. While the U.S. supplied and armed Afghan Mujahideen militants, millions of Afghans fled to Pakistan and Iran. Soon the CIA created its covert Operation Cyclone to finance and arm militants in what it considered an anti-communist war. Many Muslims from around the world also volunteered to fight against the Soviets. One of them was a young Osama bin Laden. In 1983, U.S. President Ronald Reagan met with Mujahideen leaders at the White House.
Hold on, man. Y'all look. Hit that like, hit that subscribe button, y'all. Cause we talking about some truth out here, man. It's time, let's get the information out here to the people. The truth on what's going on. That's for those that don't want to take it from my mouth. Don't want to take it from the minister. Case in point.
The U.S. considered them allies in the fight against communism and the Soviet Union. This was even reflected in popular culture at the time. In Rambo 3, Sylvester Stallone fought alongside Afghan villagers against Soviets.
What you see here are the Mujahideen soldiers, holy warriors. So as this war is a holy war, and there's no true death for the Mujahideen because we have taken our last rights and we consider ourselves dead already. To us, death for our land and God is an honor.
You started this damn war, now you have to deal with it.
And we will. It is just a matter of time before we achieve a complete victory.
There won't be a victory. Every day your war machines lose ground to a bunch of poorly armed, poorly equipped freedom fighters. The fact is that you underestimated your competition. If you'd studied your history, you'd know that these people have never given up to anyone. They'd rather die than be slaves to an invading army. You can't defeat people like that. We tried.
Okay.
We already had our Vietnam. Now you're gonna have yours.
The film actually ended with a tribute to the gallant people of Afghanistan. The superior firepower the U.S. provided to the Mujahideen began to take its toll on Soviet forces, and after nearly 10 years of occupation, the Kremlin finally agreed to withdraw troops from Afghanistan.
This development would not have been possible had it not been for the valiant struggle of the Afghan people to rid their country of foreign occupation. We take
That
great
we
pride
created.
in having assisted the Afghan people in this triumph, and they can count on our continued support.
After withdrawal,
Now at that time, remember George Bush was director of CIA.
under house arrest in a UN compound. Mujahideen forces took over Kabul, and most militant groups signed on to the Peshawar Accord, creating the new Islamic State of Afghanistan. 2 years later, the Taliban emerged in southern Kandahar.
They assumed control of the province and imposed a particularly harsh interpretation of Islamic law. The group was founded by Mullah Muhammad Omar and his students. Omar's mission was to establish Islamic law now that communism had fallen. The Taliban also claimed they wanted to clear the country of territorial warlords and corruption. In a matter of months, up to 15,000 students from religious schools in Pakistan, most of them Afghan refugees, had joined the Taliban. By 1996, cooperation between Mujahideen leaders had failed, resulting in 4 years of fighting between factions. Kabul was left in ruins by the war, which killed nearly 15,000 people. In September of that year, the Taliban captured Kabul after taking most of the country with little resistance. They executed former President Najibullah and his brother. After taking power, the Taliban imposed its version of Islamic law, which included preventing girls from going to school and denying women the right to work. Legal punishments and executions took place in public. Only Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates recognized the new Taliban regime. After the 9/11 attacks, the U.S. issued an ultimatum to
Who are all of our allies now.
one of the accused organizers of the attack, Osama bin Laden, was under Taliban protection and demanded he be surrendered to the U.S. Omar refused. 20 years after it started supporting the political factions that gave rise to the Taliban, the U.S. led an invasion of Afghanistan. Within a month, the Taliban had retreated to Kabul.
Not a war, an
the U.S.
invasion.
coalition took Kabul with its new allies, the Northern Alliance. The Bonn Agreement handed control to the Northern Alliance and other Mujahideen factions that had ruled Afghanistan in the 1990s. Hamid Karzai was chosen as Afghanistan's transitional president. 2 days after the Bonn Agreement was passed, Mullah Omar left Kandahar, which signaled the official end of the Taliban regime. U.S. President George W. Bush declared mission accomplished as the Pentagon formally announced that major combat operations in Afghanistan were finished. Karzai was elected president for the first of 2 consecutive terms in nationwide general elections.
But we
by
never went
2006,
anywhere.
The U.S. was stuck in the middle of another costly invasion, Iraq. The Taliban seized the opportunity to begin staging a resurgence, particularly in the south. While U.S. and NATO troops officially ended their combat mission in Afghanistan in 2014, President Barack Obama continued to authorize U.S. forces to carry out operations against Taliban and al-Qaeda targets there. Over the next few years, the Taliban escalated attacks on Afghan and U.S. forces. They recaptured almost 40% of Afghanistan. Peace talks between the Taliban and the Afghan government began in Qatar but ultimately failed. Russia attempted to host its own peace conference between the two parties, which also failed. In April of 2021, U.S. President Joe Biden announced troops would be withdrawn from Afghanistan by September 11th. Since Biden's announcement, violence has escalated in Kabul. Sometimes attacks are random and are not claimed by any militant group or faction. Victims of the violence include journalists, judges, and high-profile women. And the Taliban has continued to take more territory. Government figures have even called for the public to take up arms against the Taliban. On July 6th, the U.S. withdrew from the Bagram Air Base in the middle of the night. The base is also home to a prison said to hold up to 5,000 Taliban prisoners.
Mr. President, you trust the Taliban, sir? Why you don't trust the Taliban?
It's a silly question. Do I trust the Taliban? No. But I trust the capacity of the Afghan military, who is better trained, better equipped, and more competent in terms of conducting war.
The impending U.S. withdrawal has only led to more insecurity for Afghans. After decades of invasion, civil war, and the so-called war on terror, their future remains as uncertain as ever.
Mr. President, will the United States be responsible for the loss of Afghan civilian lives that could happen after the military exit?
No, no, no.
So, family, as we done, so salute the TRT world, subscribe to them. And that again was getting more factual deep dive because y'all want to take my word for it, family. This thing has been going on for years for the sole purposes of those resources. They don't care about liberating the country. Our thoughts and prayers do go out to all the family members who lost, soldiers over. And look, quiet and take it how you want to take it, man. That's really on both sides. We push love, man. We don't push death on no end, but I do understand that's how, unfortunately, that's how, things are done in this world. That's how countries, might, disputes are settled, is settled through might, you know, and to show a strength on always on who's got the upper hand. You know, unfortunately, you know, with this thing called America, we gotta always remember, you know, look how America operates. It's not only one that's not a country. America's younger than all of these nations that we police, you know, because we are an organization within ourselves founded by immigrants from all over, you know. With that, I digress.
You got to keep repeating things over and over and over again for the truth to sink in. To kind of catapult the propaganda.